Classical guitar, Elaine. We're gonna change some strings today, but we don't talk very often about how the strings work, right? What actually happens when we put strings on and we stretch a piece of some type of flexible material over a box and it vibrates, and thanks to the tension and the bridge and the pressure of the string against the wood, that frequency travels throughout the whole instrument, and the top begins to vibrate, and the body of the guitar, we can still hear overtones, starts to give its own. It goes from making this singular note to a note with all these extra qualities that every individual guitar has its own sort of color that it gives. But to start with, we got to make sure that the strings are the right tension, and we got to make sure that there's the right amount of tension so that the instrument is pulled together and that whole process is allowed to happen. So today we're talking about different tensions and our nylon strings and other products for a classical guitar and vihuela. Thanks for being with us, and we hope you enjoy this video. So the first thing we're going to do is bring these strings, take the tension down a little bit across the board. These strings aren't too old, but as you can see, there's some spots here. We've got like where the strings hit the fret. You can see that it's beat up. Also where the musician puts his fingers. Obviously we have, different pH in our skin, and we start to corrode the silver. When your strings start to look like this, it's a sign that maybe you can start thinking about getting a new set. So our strings have a little tail end with that should make it easier to make your knot here, and basically you're just gonna go around the string itself a couple times, and then we'll pull it back, and that should lock into place. We make our strings 40 to 41 inches, which is really plenty of length, even if you happen to have a guitar with a tailpiece or something like that. And again, we're just going to give it a nice gentle tug. So if we stretch the strings like this while we put them on, it'll avoid that extra time of the string slowly stretching and going out of tune. You can shorten that process to 10 or 15 minutes if you're just giving them a nice little tug. Not too much, but help the string to stretch. it sit there and stretch. So with these fiber core strings, they have one short end wrapped in nickel, and that's just to keep the string from wrapping apart. It's not actually part of the inside of the string, it's just on the ends. So again, they're made longer than they need to be, just in case, and you can cut off the long end if you need to. The short end should just enter, and just like you would any other string, it's a little bit thicker, but you're just going to make a twice around itself, and it'll hold itself in place. And in this case, just to protect the string, I'm going to attach it to the tuning peg along the metal part, and that way any tension on the string is going to be any tension on the string will be here on the metal end rather than on the nylon, which is really the most fragile part of the string. Basically, modern classical strings are all made with like a silk nylon core. It's just a few strands of silk nylon, and they're wrapped in this case the bases are wrapped with silvered copper, or in some cases brass, and usually the top three strings are just monofilament. Monofilament was invented by the DuPont company in the 1948, I think, and so guitars since then have been standardized pretty much, and the correct gauges, which are 28, 32, and 40 thousandths of an inch, are readily available everywhere in the world, and we have those standard monofilament sets available, and we also make a hand wound set of trebles. The idea with our hand wound trebles is that they're more warm and reminiscent of gut strings. For thousands of years before nylon was invented, these types of strings were made from people think it was cat guts, but really it was mostly sheep guts, and they were used for all kinds of instruments until the invention of nylon. So guts had a lot of their own problems. They respond to humidity, to dryness, to temperature. They change. They're hard to keep in tune. They're obviously very labor intensive to make them, and you have to have a lot of guts around, which is also something that it takes work to get. So when nylon was invented, very quickly that kind of took over, and there's still a few people who insist on making, we don't do that here, that's just a totally different thing, but we make these nylon strings wrapped with more nylon, well, this nylon silk wrapped in nylon, and the idea with that is it's more of a warmer tone. If you look at the monofilament material itself, you know, it's smooth, it's very consistent, it's very not porous at all, but if you look, but you know, gut was obviously not as smooth. It was more, it's a real life material, so it had porous, it has all these other qualities, and that warmness is what we're trying to accomplish without the problems of gut. So that's the idea behind these fiber core strings. They also last a long time. They last a really long time, and they are a different, you know, they are a different sound, and they're not for every kind of player, and they're not for every person. But if you're looking for that warmer sound, it's a kind of an earthier sound. It's not as crispy like as monofilament is kind of like a crispy, almost like a glassy kind of sound. I don't know if it's hard to give name and adjectives to sounds, you know, but that's what I think of when I hear like monofilament. The sound is like crispier, and when you play these strings, you hear like a warmness to a warm quality to the sound. Like old vihuelas, like from back then when they used to use gut strings. So that's the idea behind this. So it's always got its good. They're not for everyone, like I said. They're also more expensive because we make them by hand, not like the just the monofilament, which we honestly there's nothing to make. We're not people think sometimes that we make the nylon itself, and we're just a small workshop here, like you see. We don't have a big petrochemical plant, so we don't make nylon what we do is get the best material available on the market, and that's what we use in our products. This is actually quicker than I thought. Some people don't like that squeaky sound either. Because they're wound, they have a texture, and if you're moving over it, just like your bass strings, they have a little bit of texture to them. Right, we have 3 different tensions, and really what changes are the basses. They're just slightly heavier, heavier in heavier in weight means that it's gonna need more tension to get to the same note. So it's gonna feel a little bit tighter. That's what we mean by heavy tension. A lot of people have all kinds of questions always about heavy tension, but basically that means that it's gonna feel a little bit tighter while you're playing. And that has to do, people ask, is it better or is it louder? And it really just has to do more with your technique, how you like to play. Again, for a classical guitar, it's not like it's a huge difference. It's just a little tiny bit more weight. For the vihuela, there's a little bit, you feel a little bit more when you go to a heavy tension string. And again, it's not that it's better or louder or anything. It's a matter of the attack and the technique of the person. Some people just have a real light technique, and they don't need a whole lot of just their way of playing. They get fine volume and everything, and they just have a lighter way of strumming, and they don't need that much tension. But some people like to they have a different technique, and they hit a little harder, and they like to feel the tension on their strings. And it's just a matter of personal choice, really. It has to do with the gauges, and we're going to explain that soon. Okay, so your guitar is tuned from top to bottom: E, A, D, G, B, and E. So it's all fourths with the third towards the bottom, and that's kind of the special magic of the guitar. How do we keep it in tune? The strings will go much less out of tune if you stretch them at the beginning, and of course the temperature changes and things like that you can't do too much about, just to expect that you know they're going to change. So unless you're like in a controlled environment, I would take the strings down, or unless you're going to keep them like always in your case, because the climate changes, the barometric pressure changes, the humidity changes, and all of a sudden a string might just break on its own just sitting in the room. It could break because of that alone. So just always be mindful of that. But yeah, stretching them out like this at the very beginning will eliminate most of the problem of the going out of tune. So when we're stretching the strings, we don't want to pull up against the tapa, because we never want to do that, and we don't want to put too much pressure, but just gently. We want to kind of, there's nylon silk fibers at the core of the string, and so we're just kind of massaging our way through to allow it to stretch now, so that it happens quickly, and that way your strings will be much more in tune. They'll tend to stay much more in tune this way. Of course, if you're a classical guitar player, you know that your fourth string is always the first one to go out, and that's just because the string is the thinnest string with the thinnest wrap, and so that makes it the most fragile, and it also happens to be right in the middle where you happen to use it a lot. So those two factors are, I mean, your fourth is just always, I always recommend getting extra fourths. In fact, we have a pro pack of classical guitar strings with the extra fourths already like counted as part of the set. So that's just a matter of physics. Like your fourth string is your thinnest, it's going to be your most fragile. You also use it all the time, so that's why people are always breaking their fourths. If I was going to change a monofilament set, I would probably change them all at the same time, because with the monofilament set, the advantage of that is that nice crispy sound that it's going to get, and after a while the monofilament's going to lose that. But the advantage with these fiber core sets is that we like the warmness of it, and that actually gets better with time. So you can keep your trebles on and change your basses maybe once or twice, maybe even 3 times, and your trebles will still, they'll sound even nicer as time goes on. And then eventually you'll notice that those nice qualities, everything has its lifespan. We can clip. Your silver copper is perfectly okay to clip. Your monofilament is perfectly okay to clip. And your wound nylon strings you can clip, but you have to clip, don't clip beyond these metal tips, because those metal tips are what's keeping the string from unwinding. So you can clip this extra off. Just be sure you always leave a little bit of the metal tip, because otherwise the string will just come undone.